Hi everyone, welcome again to another Oy'Nissh vlog. I am yours truly, Oy'Nissh Grandies, and today's vlog is in the beautiful town of Musselburgh along the River Esk. In this vlog, I'll be doing a 4-part series because I'm currently doing a pre-spring foraging vlog. That is a pre-spring foraging vlog. The idea is to see what especially vegetables at this time look like before they come into season, especially the spring vegetables. So in Musselburgh, I'll be looking at some of the foraging potentials in this area. I've been here before, so I'll be going to some special areas that are known for particular vegetables. There are 4 of them that I'll be focusing on. Firstly, it's wild garlic or ramson. Secondly, wild leek. Thirdly, ground elder. And fourthly, nettle. In previous video, I did 2 vlogs. Firstly, in Edinburgh at the Little France Park, where I did a pre-leek, but I haven't done the one here before, the pre-wild leek, that is. In Newington, on the Newington Castle Estate, I did ground elder and wild garlic. Couldn't find any wild leek, but I hadn't done nettle yet. But Musselburgh, I think, is a good area to include that. So the idea is to go around different parts of Edinburgh, East Lothian, hopefully Mid and West Lothian, to look at different foraging grounds before spring officially starts. Now, because I'll be doing a 4-part series on these 4 various vegetables I mentioned earlier on, I use the time also to translate some of these English words into Oy'Nissh, because as you know, I'm constructing a language and it's in its early stage. Hopefully when I've got enough words and done enough translation and work out the grammatical structure, then I'll be able to write poetry and a lot more. However, one of the key purpose also of foraging while I'm working is to translate while I go along. So these 4 vegetables I've got on my mobile phone, the translation that I've made for them, I'll reintroduce them when I start to do each one of these vegetables. So firstly is wild garlic or ramson. When translated, it's called vuminji. That is wild garlic or ramson is translated in Oy'Nissh as vuminji. Secondly, wild leek. Wild leek is translated as plemunji. That is, wild leek is translated as plemunji. Next is ground elder. Ground elder is translated as sayes. That is, ground elder is translated as sayes. And fourthly, nettle. Nettle is translated as rr-mot. Nettle is translated as rr-mot. So the first area I'll be stopping at is the wild garlic. So see you shortly. Oy'Nissh, millennial Jamaican name, food and language. So I am now going to focus on nettle. Nettle is a late addition because it's a bit, nettles are everywhere, but they're not well situated like wild garlic or wild leek and so forth. I don't know, they tend to be sparsely populated at the time. That's what I noticed. However, along the path, like the road, along the embankment. That's where I see a lot of nettles, which is not recommended for foraging. But here I am in the wild garlic patch, or the Vuminji patch, where we also have wild leek, and there are some nettle plants. So I believe it's ideal to also shoot while I'm here, because it's a nice size area and I can find many small nettle plants. So I'm just going to use the opportunity to do that just now. And as I mentioned earlier on, nettle is translated into Oy'Nissh as rr-mot. Nettle is translated as rr-mot. So when I use the term rr-mot, searching for rr-mot, I'm talking about nettle. In Jamaica, I call it stinging nettle. In Jamaica, we call it crotch bush because it itches. But yeah, same idea. So nettle or rr-mot. And let's look for some plants. Already I can identify some plants, and let me see the best one to start from. You're right here. Let me see if you can see it. This is nettle. It's the leaves. It's one of those plants that have these edgy leaves, but it's quite itchy too. Let me see if I can put the camera close. Hold a second. See if I can examine it. Yeah, it's a leaf down. So this is nettle or rr-mot. Whoa! They're very small. Yeah, here's a nice cluster of nettle plants. Yeah. Note the difference of this nettle, of nettle, as opposed to this one. It's the leaves. I don't know what that is, but if you compare the leaves, let me see if I can draw it, put it closer. You notice the leaves are different. The edges. Yeah. It's things like that I used to distinguish nettle from something else. There's some more here. So here's a nice one. Nettle. Yes, so this rr-mot is still quite tiny, and you know, nettle grow quite big. So just imagine this compared to when it's about this height. Yeah, the difference in height. So it goes all the way up. Yep. Yeah, about up to here sometimes. Let's see if we can find some more rr-mot plants. Okay, let me see where to go, which direction. Let's go back to that end first, because I guess it's good to work from one end to the next, and it means that you can cover more in terms of. So this one area, you can find 3 of the key foraging plants. I'm sure there are others, but I'm just thinking about the 4 that I mentioned earlier on. I'm looking for, I think on this section, wild leek have, the wild leek has cornered the market. So oh, nettle. Look at this. One of the disadvantages is the holes though. Look, they seem to get damaged quite easily. I don't know why the holes. You see the holes? Yeah, all these holes. Yeah, I don't know why. Anybody know? I don't know if it's insects, maybe. I don't know. I want to believe something had beat me to it. And they started their foraging quite early, I guess. Oh, here we've got some very tiny ones. Oh, babes. After all, it's February, yeah? It's still winter. So, there's no chance that they would be large at this stage, you know. So it's pre-spring foraging after all, so we cannot expect the magical growth of the nettle or rr-mot. Give them the time, they will come into their own. But with that arrival comes the power to mess up your legs and hands. Thus gloves are essential when foraging for nettles, definitely. And I don't tend to go for the plastic gloves that I use, the light thin plastic gloves. I tend to think about clothy gloves, thick with the hard plastic on it, tips and so forth. I'm looking for more nettles. They're here, but they're not emerging from slumber as the other plants at this stage of the year. I guess that their awakening haven't arrived as yet fully, but give them the time, they will emerge victoriously. Except most people don't eat them, so they sort of have a lonely season where nobody wants them. I think wild garlic and all of them sort of feel like that sometimes, that people in Musselburgh don't mess around with them. Let me see more nettle. Where are my rr-mots? Where are they? rr-mot. I don't think this part is good for rr-mot. I've shown you a few plants, but it's really scarce in this region. I'm looking, but let's see. At the other end, yes, there are some, but coming to this side, nothing. Unless they're still quite small. Yeah. Maybe they can't handle the competition with the wild garlic and the leek. They've been pushed out of the competition. Yeah, but I'm looking for... Hello. Okay. Okay, where are the nettle plants? Nettle. Wow. I don't think this area is good for nettle. There are only a few examples that I've shown, but it's not ideal for nettle. I think it's not recommended for foraging for nettles here. But I use the opportunity to show you what it looks like, you know. Here we go. It's very tiny. This one. Here's another one with holes. So yeah, not ideal. So, or maybe what the thing is, they are still so young that, because when they do grow, they are very tall, much taller than the wild garlic, and so maybe what I see as few tiny ones, by the time they mature, they really fill up the place a bit more. So it's not a loss, but I'm sure there are better areas for nettles than this one where we've got the wild garlic and leek. But because it's with these two, it would be ideal for foraging where you get everything in one go. So it means that if you do forage here, chances are of you getting nettle or rr-mot is still there, but it would be in a smaller quantity. I don't know of a particular region along the path that is designated rr-mot central. Yep. So it must be that there are areas that's just nettles, but I haven't pinpointed yet. So, but here definitely there are some. This, let me show you, this cluster tend to have, there's a cluster here, just this region. There's a cluster just here. Yeah, around this bit. Yeah. And even over here. Yeah. Here's another one. So they're there. It's tiny. Yeah. See it? They are there. Definitely. So there is the possibility to get nettles, but I believe there are better areas that I haven't discovered yet for it. So it's still doable. Yeah, but if you are big on nettles, you'd want an area that they've colonized, like the British did. Colonize. I know, sorry. I'm just joking, peeps, don't get angry. It's not a Black Lives Matters thing, trust me. I'm just playing about. No, I'm just saying that you've got areas where things colonize better. That's all I'm saying. Here there is nettle, but they don't as do the wild garlic and leek. So there are nettle plants, but I'm sure, I don't know if it's in along the river-esque path, but there must be other areas in East Lothian and Edinburgh where there's just so much nettle in one place that they just colonize a region, and it's easier to forage that way, you know. So I keep my eyes open, and if I do, I will show you. But at least we get an idea of what nettle looks like when they're pre-spring, which the small tips are good for. These bits, let me pick a bit off. They're not as, yeah, so so these are good for, I don't know, it's a soup, and they're tender now. So the good thing is at this stage they're tender going into March. So I would say going up to mid-March, the end of March, they are as tender as you'd like them for making soups. I've never used it to make salad because it's so itchy. I don't know what it's like. Does anyone use it to make salad? Well, I've used it to make bread though, and Oy'Nissh marinades. Yep. But this is your nettle. So because it's itchy, I don't tend to eat it just like that. Some people, the vegans and vegetarians, or other people are chefs in Scotland, you probably recommend if it's possible to eat it like that, but I don't know. I've never just eat it like this. I normally cook it, you know. Yeah, but there you go, nettles. And here's a nice patch. Here you go. So this region is nettle colony, the rr-mot colony. Yeah, so we got, here's an rr-mot. You see it, a wee cluster, which is okay because, as I said, when they grow this big. Yeah, so that will be, there'll be lots of leaves to do stuff. And the good thing is this is what I notice. So if the ground elder or sias or the nettle, which is called rr-mot, if the leaves grow a bit older and more coarse, they still have some nutrients before they start flowering. They still have nutrients, you know. So one recommendation is to use it in baking. Now you don't want to use it you're going to use much water. So like when you're making bread, they're ideal. I make nettle bread, rr-mot bread, and think of a spring rr-mot, yeah? And it means now that the leaf haven't started flowering as much yet, so you still get all the nutrients. Later on, going into late April, May, June, they start flowering, and it's a different story. But late March going into April, these rr-mot plants or nettle plants becomes ideal for making bread. You just chop them up, mix it in with your bread, and etc, etc. Yeah. And I don't know, some people put oil on the hand. I've never put oil on mine, and my hands don't itch when I chop them up, but some reason I don't know if it affects other people more. Here's another one. Okay, so that concludes the fourth part of the vlog regarding nettle or rr-mot. So we've covered all the four things just now. We did the wild leek first, which is called Ramson, and in Oy'Nissh, Vuminji. Secondly, we did the leek, wild leek, which is translated as Premunji. Then thirdly, I did ground elder, which is sias. And now I've just completed the fourth part in the pre-spring river-esque path foraging, which is nettle or rr-mot. So I'll make the videos available when I can, and if I do get the chance one day to go down to Seaton Sun and that area, that would be ideal. I don't know, that I've never been in that area before to forage, so I don't know what I'd be looking for, and I try to find online for people foraging and doing stuff, but I can't get any information. But it looks as if the weather might hold up a bit, so I might see if I can pop down and, you know, see what's happening. But it all depends on the weather, because it looks as if it's going to rain. Yeah, but thanks again for following me on these vlogs on YouTube, and catch you later.